Alright guys, so this week we're going to be talking about the movie House of Wax. The 2005 remake.
Yeah, I researched it a little bit, and I hear it's not like a real remake. It's just like inspired.
Kind of.
Like a soft reboot for the Wax universe or something like that. This is a movie I think that we both like, that everybody else hates. Everyone on the internet, everyone we've ever talked to or met, I believe. Is that accurate?
I get into fights at least once a year about this movie because there's so much unfounded hatred.
Yeah.
And I'm the kind that will aggressively prod you and be like, well, why do you hate it? Why do you hate it? And this falls victim to what I think Blair Witch fell victim to, where somebody said first, that movie sucks, and then nobody saw it, and they go, oh, that movie sucks. And I'm like,
yeah.
Why do you think that?
I could see people saying, it's an unnecessary remake in like a time period of just pulling out all the remakes.
But this one waited 53 years for the remake or something like that.
This was 2000s, right? A lot of stuff was being right.
Yes.
And it's the Paris Hilton one, so I think
that is the biggest one.
I think they think Paris Hilton is the main character, and that the movie's bad just because of that.
When we get to spoilers, I will go into detail on the Paris Hilton character.
Yes.
But for now, I will just say she's not bad.
Oh no. Okay. I agree, but that's some hot fire that you're spitting right now.
I will relieve you of all this.
No, and we didn't originally, because we've both seen this a long time ago. We didn't originally watch it together. We didn't originally talk about it right after seeing it. We just randomly, moved through life, and then eventually we're like, wait, you don't hate that movie either? Because one of us probably was like, that movie everyone hates, and I'm like, what do you mean? And it's like, yeah, there's some glorious crazy thing. Yeah, I remember defending it as well to people working at the store, customers, just random coworkers being like, this is trash. And I'm like, do you know what trash is? Rotten Tomatoes has horrible scores.
It's crazy to me.
It isn't just like a meme. It's like everyone thinks this movie is actually horrible. And I could see a few reasons why to knock it a little, but compared to horrible movies, it is so not horrible.
No.
It's ridiculous.
This is a full real-ass movie. Like horrible movies are not movies. They are difficult to watch. They are not fun. There's no relatability. There's you constantly going, why are they doing that? Why are they doing that?
Wait, where are we now? What's
this doesn't have that at all. That's what makes this what I call a good movie.
I think there may be a perception too that it kind of was a flop because it's I looked up some facts.
It made money though.
Well, it's a $40 million movie.
But it made 70.
Yeah, but that's you want to make 100. The point is, right?
Yes. If I'm not mistaken, didn't it make 70 at theaters and it made 70 more at home box office?
I looked just on IMDb and it said cumulative worldwide was 68. And and then when you add marketing and other stuff.
I could be mistaken, but I think this movie almost made its full theatrical take in rental. It was a huge back end movie, which we've seen with things before, where it's this was a flop, and then 10 years later, through people it's a cult classic. This is not considered a cult classic.
I don't know what all the numbers I looked at include or don't include, but I feel I think opening weekend was probably disappointing, and maybe critics were like, uh-oh, stinker, and that wormed its way in with the Paris Hilton and the remake aspect, and everyone just got this false memory in their heads of a bad movie that they never saw.
This movie has such a cast though too, where Paris Hilton obviously keeps getting said, but you have
Chad
Michael Murray, you got Eliza Cuthbert, you got the kid from Supernatural, who at this time would have been a Gilmore Girl.
Sam from Supernatural.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. Never seen Supernatural. Hey,
it's one of the longest shows of all.
I know, it's the most intimidating. I can't start now. I'll never finish.
But it's a great cast. There's a lot of good things in it. Amazing set design, great practical effects, certainly worth seeing if you've not seen it, and I can't wait to get into the spoiler section, so if you've not seen this, do not follow us over to spoilers. Watch this movie. If you've seen it, follow us over to spoilers.
If you need a place to rent content, you better listen. We're Cannibal Video and we eat the competition.
Alright guys, here we are for spoilers of House of Wax.
House o' Wax. House Casa de Waxo.
Yes. So we are now firmly in the spoilers territory. We can say anything we want.
Yeah.
No fear of reprisal. I want to real quick go into the Paris Hilton thing because that's
okay. I was gonna say
that's something that
I think we have a few things before we even get into the plot of the movie or anything else.
That everybody shits on Paris Hilton's character, and all the things of her character that are bad, are her character. They're not her. The crap of being oh, I'm pregnant and I don't want to tell him. That's a trope.
I suppose when you find out you are pregnant, Carly, I'm not sure, okay?
That's like a thing.
Oh,
That's on the page.
Do people hate that?
I think these lead into the stuff. This is like from arguments past. I will like bring in things people have said.
Right.
But like on the character things that are good, she picks up a weapon. That's like something almost no one does.
Yeah.
It's amazing. She gets killed by the same weapon she picked up, but that's not her fault. She's a dumb idiot. But like her character doesn't do anything that's like crazy wrong. I think like all the things she did were pretty good. She won in the same year best like on-screen scream and a Razzie Award for worst actress.
And the Razzie for worst supporting actress goes to Paris Hilton.
And I'm like I think that's all the hype that was behind the movie and people just not liking Paris Hilton. I don't think she did anything that was tragically wrong.
No, this
in
is
movie.
not Razzie. For the kids, right? Because we're old men now, right? Before Paris Hilton was a successful DJ, she was famous for doing nothing and being rich.
Yes.
And it was kind of a meme. We didn't call it that yet, where everyone hated her. Because she was famous for doing nothing.
Yeah.
But they kept watching reality TV shows and things that she was on or whatever.
I don't know.
What is Walmart? It's like they sell wall stuff?
No.
What is it?
And it was fun. It was like, we hate Paris Hilton. We all hate Paris
They
Hilton.
make a callback where the character, the shit cleaner guy, what's his name with a D something, like, not Declan, Dalton. Dalton's like, that's hot at one point.
That's hot.
I did not catch that, and I love it.
That's hot.
People were just gearing up to hate Paris Hilton. And yes, there's a part early where she gets a bunch of dialogue together, and I don't think that she delivers it like great. But then I think people just don't finish the movie, I think, a lot too.
Yeah.
Because she is neither the main character nor in it too much.
Barely.
Nor bad. Like you said, later she actually gets stuff to do, and it's like snappy and stuff. She screams, she runs, the wardrobe is fabulous, the hair is wonderful. Like, everything's fine. There's nothing like wrong with her, and they don't treat her any different when they're filming or writing or doing anything. She's just another character in the movie.
Shown in some flattering light.
Yeah.
She has even like a fun and interesting death sequence.
Yeah, her death is
like,
crazy actually. Yeah.
And it's like almost a great exposition part for the show, because like for the movie, because you see like, oh, this is where all the cars are. Oh, this is where all the stuff. Look at that pile of cell phones. Like, this is crazy. How many people they've killed?
Because I'm going to forget this later. It's also a tidbit where the killer like goes for her foot again. So you establish like this is a consistent technique that that this killer has. Because he doesn't do it in the same way because he can't. But he's trying to like disable them and make them easier for him to to get.
That
and stuff.
part, well, yes, I agree that that's a good technique. It felt very unrealistic to me because of she's one floor up, and, and he's the ease and quickness of him stabbing through there, and then it was dumb because then she slowly goes down the stairs. I'm like, if he was below you, going down the stairs would mean he'd be right there to kill you, but then he doesn't get her right there.
I agree. I just like the foot action.
No, I liked it, and you feel for moments like that, like when she gets like right up her heel. Oh, because everyone's like stepped on something pointy,
like
and
a
this
Lego
is a
brick.
goddamn knife.
Yeah. No, and there's and she limps around afterwards. It's like convincing. I was actually by the at the start, like I said, I was sort of like, oh yeah, maybe she's like worse than I remember. And then by the end, I'm like, no, she's a normal character in a movie. I don't know how many movies she was in. This is not like a career-killing, horrible first performance or anything like that.
I don't.
Like,
this wasn't even. I don't think her first movie.
No, I feel like she was fine though. I feel like totally overblown.
And as you mentioned, with like she limps afterwards, this movie treats injuries. For the most part, like actual injuries, and I like that. Like, there's a part where Chad Michael Murray gets stabbed in his thigh, and he convincingly hobbles for the rest of the movie.
People react
and I'm
really
like,
well.
yes, right, things are happening here.
Exactly.
The only one that I thought was a little off was our evil villain Bo gets shot with a crossbow, and like. He pulls one right through his arm, and then you don't really see him favoring that arm at all. He's throwing rights and lefts. I'm like, I don't know if you'd be throwing a combo after you just had pulled through the muscle a bolt.
He put a damp rag on it, so.
That's true. I wasn't thinking about the damp rag.
I know.
He also
I have your
didn't
back.
cut the quill off. He pulled it straight through. What an animal.
I literally was thinking the same thing. It's like, why don't you cut off one end and pull the other way?
You have snips in your pocket. Like, what are you doing?
We established you did.
Yeah.
In my head, I like pictured him snipping snipping the arrows and then pulling them out.
I picture him snipping them and leaving them in because he's like, this is gonna make me bleed a lot. I have some shit to do here.
I have some
like
things
that's what I
to
thought was
wrap
cool
up.
about not pulling the knife out. He left the knife in. He's like, I'm
Yeah.
like, yes, you should leave the knife in. You're stabbed potentially mortally right now.
Yeah, it's in like
People
the-
don't
the
treat
thigh
like a
stuff.
leg stab is just as
Yeah.
dangerous as anything else.
You have arteries in your legs. People
Yeah.
don't know about this. People who make movies don't know about this.
Yeah,
your whole leg can be, like,
also,
removed and
Bo
it's like,
got
he's
shot
fine.
in at worst the heart and at best the lung, and both of those
Bad guys
should
have-
severely hamper your ability to do anything.
So bad guys have special rules. We're jumping around a lot, but that was
certainly are.
That was a point that I was going to bring up. Is like, you know, Bo does the whole like they shoot him and they kind of leave him there, and then he's
Yeah.
back later, and it's sort of like, oh, the villain's back, like he's magic, but he's not magic, but he's like, oh fuck. Oh God! Like he's like really seems like he's in a lot
When
of
he
pain.
vomits
And I'm
from
like,
pain,
yeah.
I was like,
I'm like, this is great.
this is fantastic.
I was like, this is a wonderful depiction. Because sometimes, like, you don't see the killer until I guess they've gone and done that, what they chose to
Yeah.
show on camera here, where they're like pulling out stuff and like fixing stuff or whatever. But
no,
yeah,
all
he
that.
was all
The
jacked
realism
up.
of this
I'm like,
movie is
awesome.
super great. I'm
Right?
I'm very pleased by most of this
Weirdly
movie.
good for this
Yeah.
movie that everyone hates forever or something.
So like while we were talking about all these gushing over good things,
Yeah.
are there any parts that you didn't like?
That's cold.
There's a few things I put into two categories, like merely unrealistic and like nitpicky, or actual stuff that I was like groaning and didn't like.
Let me hear them all.
Which would you like to? Oh, all?
Let's start with the nitpicky thing.
Yeah, so like it's so dumb, but like there's a dog that's alive in the House of Wax, but is standing
Okay.
perfectly still and does not react when he approaches at all until it does. It's like so dumb.
You a little wax dog too? What up, dog?
Well, that's
like
a
a-
jump scare
Yeah,
moment
yeah,
of a
yeah.
movie, so I can get that as a nitpick.
Totally nitpicky, just where I'm like, wait, what? It's like it isn't like a special dog that's trained to do these things.
Well-
And then later, when our like boyfriend, supernatural Wade guy,
Wade.
right? Wade gets waxed and all that stuff,
Mm-hmm.
but he's like alive.
Wait.
His like eyes turn.
That was in my thing too.
Yeah.
Where like, well, I was just mentally going through the character of Wade, going, well, he certainly gets it the worst.
He has a horrible time.
So Wade gets his Achilles tendon snipped with like the largest scissors. Like I'm about to open a store. Cuts his tendon
With ribbon cutting scissors,
then
yeah.
stabs him at least once before booting him unconscious. Then, if I'm remembering correctly, rips all the facial hair off of his face with like a wax thing. Then hot waxes him while alive. Like covers him in hot wax.
Yeah, he gets waxed and then waxed, if
Yes.
you will.
Then his friend finds him, peels off parts of his skin while he's alive.
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna get you out of this.
Then a machete like comes across his face, revealing his like jaw and teeth. And I'm like, well, that's really bad. Then he dies into the fire because he doesn't die from that, presumably.
I guess he's still not dead, right?
Like,
yeah.
But the idea that, like, speaking of superheroes, Wade's obviously a superhero because he can survive without air.
This is really his origin.
He's waxed over.
This is
Only
really
his eyes are
this
showing.
is really his origin story.
I'm
of,
thinking
of Don't Breathe Man.
Yeah.
Or whatever. Yeah, no, it's crazy.
But yeah, like that for the first time while I was like mentally, cause I've seen this movie like 10 times. For the first time, I'm just sitting here going like, I like to watch a movie going, who had it worse? And usually
okay.
it's someone who has no reasoning for it. But me, I go, he deserved everything he got. And you ask me why? They shouldn't snoop around in people's shit.
You're not gonna go in there, are you?
Oh shit! No, he was.
He was
Actually,
snooping.
There's a point.
He was
where-
snooping. He was uncharacteristically lighting things on fire.
Oh no, there's a fire. Help me, Carly. I'm melting. My skin's gonna catch on fire. My legs are all burning.
Like
He was like, so like after being the guy who's like, no, it's cool. Look at all this fine workmanship. He's like, help me, I'm on fire. Does
Yeah.
the whole fucking thing. It was so weird.
it was
and
totally turned dime on character, and I was like, that's weird.
and then later when he's using the bathroom, he's also goes into like the den and is like, and like messing
Yeah.
around with embryos and shit. Yeah, I was like, what the hell is wrong with you?
Mm-hmm.
When he gets killed though, we've already spoken about it with like the snips and stuff. I thought that was a great scene.
oh yes,
I loved the feeling of him getting cut and the way it's dark
And you
but like
do
spotlit and
feel
stuff.
it.
Yes.
Anytime somebody gets it, and that one way more than Paris's thing.
Yeah.
Like, you see the scissors coming at his fucking tendon, and you know what's gonna happen.
And it plays the Jaws theme song.
Even
Goes,
the moment
dun-na,
it happens,
dun-na.
you're like, ooh, because
Yeah.
everyone could picture that. I knew a guy whose Achilles tendon just snapped while he was jogging once, and when your Achilles tendon is cut, it shoots up your leg,
rolls up like a...
yeah, like it's fucking blinds. It's just at the top, just like, oh my god,
Just spinning like a cartoon
and they have
character.
to fucking go in there and pull it all the way down to reattach it. It's
This actually happened to my grandfather while he was playing basketball. I was not born yet, but it still bothers me.
It's horrible.
No, it's terrible. And
feel.
yeah, and like that happens in Hostel, right? And we've seen that before, just in our lives. I don't know if it was the sound design or what they chose, the angles and stuff, but there's a lot of stuff in here where stuff felt visceral and good, and that's what we've seen a lot of these movies now. That's what I like. I don't like cutting away and playing a noise and having the actor go ugh, and then it's just nothing, right? This was like a horrible like thing. Where I was like, wouldn't want that. I get really bad leg cramps. I don't know if you don't, right? Because your body is perfect or whatever. You do whatever you do. I get really bad leg cramps, so I just picture the Achilles tendon thing just being like 100 leg cramps at once, just burning with the power of 1,000 suns.
Well, and the inability to
thing.
walk afterward, and like he does that decently well. Like
he kind of crab
he fumbles
slides
and
away.
slides, and he's supporting on that one leg. And I'm like, oh God, Christ! Like another like crazy reaction moment is when her fucking finger gets snipped off. Another one where you're like, I know it's gonna happen. Oh God, because there's a moment where he grabs it with the snips and he's holding it, and then he cuts it off. And you're like, Jesus God.
And they show all that. And that's where part of this $40 million goes into, where they took the time for a lot of these moments where you don't usually, they would cut away or you'd see the aftermath or they'd fake it. There's not a lot of like faking things in this. You see things happen.
They built that whole town.
Okay.
This
Speaking
movie,
of not fake
so
things.
like where the money, like saying where the money went.
Yeah.
So like everything that you're seeing in the town of Ambrose, I think it's called, they built all that. That was an empty field, and they built a town. So
that's why it's not on the map.
All that stuff. Well, I think it got burned down. There was something I read something about a lawsuit where like the wiring was open flame was too close to wood or something, and I think like a lot of the set burned down. There was some $7 million lawsuit.
You mean. Okay,
yes.
damn. There you go.
And then if it didn't all burn down, then like Australia is completely on fire, so it's probably gone now.
This is an Australia film.
Yes.
Hey, and there you go. Neat.
Yeah.
So,
but they built
definitely
everything
melted now.
That building made of wax is like made of wax and is melting and crazy shit's happening. Like they built all that shit. So much crazy stuff.
We should say too, during the finale, the building is like made of mostly, there's like wood too, but it's so much wax.
Yeah.
When as the fire is spreading, and I feel like some of this might come from the original, but they couldn't do it as good or something. But like, there's like things are sinking, and he's making footprints, and it's like Home Alone. Like every footprint is deeper and getting worse because it's melting away and all that stuff.
No, there's
a whole crazy thing going on.
And a lot of that is made of actual wax because they couldn't find something that would look
Melt
as real like that. Other things are made of peanut butter.
Hey, there you go. Yeah, okay.
The bed, when they like fight on that bed, that's peanut butter.
And they're like grabbing handfuls and like getting out of something like that. No, that's awesome.
No, such a crazy.
Paint some peanut butter, dog.
Yeah.
Movie magic. I love it. That's where one of my other like worst scenes or like worst things. They do a couple things with like them being twins and stuff.
Yes.
Where like the knife cuts through the door and then just happens to cut apart the two wax kids or something, and I'm like. I was like groaning, like that's really on the nose and bad. And then like the
that's
one
just visual. It's something fun for the kids at home.
Yes, but it was too much. And then they fall like 2 scenes later when when he gets killed, he falls and lands on his brother, and then their heads are touching again like they used to be conjoined.
Well, it's also
and stuff.
symbolic. Like the
And
first time the brother falls and he lands on the operating table, they would prepare people to get all waxed up, and then he lands on top of that, and it's like the place you killed so many people, you now die.
And they're
Fuck
like
you chumps.
And they're getting like encased in wax again the way they were to start with and all that stuff. But that's a little pretentious even for me. That's like a little too much to.
This movie I don't think has too much of that.
No, it does not. That's
crap.
what I mean.
It's a lot of on the nose things.
And then the final thing of like. They didn't have 2 brothers, they had 3.
Trudy and the doctor didn't have 2 sons. They had 3.
whatever.
Yes.
And I'm like, why is that even in there? That's so silly.
I really like that actor, who
is
I think
good.
is just called like Roadkill Redneck or Roadkill Picker-Upper or something.
Roadkill Driver or something.
Yeah, Roadkill Driver
Yeah,
maybe.
like, what?
I like him so much. He has one of my favorite lines in the movies. It's something like,
We may
I was
agree.
just fooling.
Anyone need a hand? I'm just fooling.
So one of my favorite lines is that same guy, because like he's like scratching something or doing something, and she like sees his big knife, and
Yes.
she like pokes Wade.
Oh, you like that?
Yeah, so like she pokes Wade, like trying to get his attention, and he notices it, and he doesn't say like, "What the fuck, lady?" He goes, "Oh, you like knives? Shring."
Used to be a pretty nice town before the interstate came in. You like knives?
Not really.
Tools of the trade. You want to see it?
That's okay.
It's a Bowie. It's a good knife. I'll cut through anything.
It's this gigantic,
Cut through anything.
blood-stained, gross, horrible
Tools
knife.
of the trade.
Yeah,
King!
and then stabs it into the whole thing, but just, oh, you like knives, do you? Just that whole thing. I'm like, oh, it's amazing.
I was
What
just
a-
fooling.
Yeah.
I say that to myself sometimes.
in like his voice.
Oh yeah.
yeah.
I like him. He's Australian, if I'm not mistaken. He was in a movie, 100 Bloody Acres.
Okay,
I
yeah.
think the only thing I've ever seen him have like a main role in, but he's been in a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
He like changes his look. Like he's an actor.
He has a familiar face, and I tried to look him up because I know this guy from something, and I didn't see anything that that like caught me. But there's a lot of credits there,
Yeah.
so I was like, okay. But that dude, yes, one of the little bright spots over the whole movie of like, cool, this dumb character that's barely in it is like this awesome rednecky flavory dude.
Having seen this movie a bunch of times,
Yeah.
I don't think up until this watch did I get that they were more than just conjoined twins, that they were identical conjoined twins.
Oh, okay, whatever.
I
yeah.
like because you watch it and
His face
kinda,
is all messed
you're
up,
kind
so
of
it
led.
doesn't,
Your eyes go right to the face,
Yeah.
like the fucked up part of his face.
Right.
And I never really looked at the other side, and I'm like, oh, it's the same guy.
It's the same actor.
Yeah,
playing
it's the same.
both guys?
It's the
Yeah,
same
yeah.
guy. And I'm like,
so-
oh, cool.
I think I've only seen this once, maybe twice before, and I'm sure that I knew, but I'd like forgotten. Like, not only are like they twins, but the good people are twins. So if you want to get
Yeah.
like pretentious, like Nick, I think is Chad Michael Murray's character.
Yes.
He's like, I'm the evil twin and all
Yes,
that bullshit. And then those two twins have to fight against like two evil twins, and it's this weird. I'm like, oh, it's twins versus twins in a house of wax live tonight, sold out for your amusement.
I
It's
love the
amazing.
opening though, because like what
Yeah.
parallels to the good and the bad twin. You have like when they're getting put in the high chairs. One's nice and eating Cheerios, and one's
Yeah.
not.
He's really being a monster again today.
And then you realize that Bo is the fucking evil one.
Yes.
Like the one that looks normal is the evil one, and you're like, oh, great.
So we've already spoiled this whole movie, but just turn it on, and like it opens with that flashback,
Yeah.
which is like great. Like you don't see the faces for that reason.
Yes.
It's like a misdirect that we're in the process of ruining. But yeah, like the one kid has like bruises on his wrists, and
Like
there's
scars almost.
and there's
they're
like,
there as an adult.
and there's like blood stains around his his high chair that they always put him in. They're like strapping like a insane asylum straps and then adding duct tape and all that
Yep.
stuff.
Something
And
he does
that's
later
what they
on.
do to people later. Exactly. It's this wonderful like thing.
Here we go!
But that intro, you're just like, damn, what is this? What's happening here, right? And then there's a whole, gotcha moment where like you are led to believe that the disfigured, ugly twin
Yeah.
was the bad twin, but he's really just the kind. I like Wax, who's murdering everyone,
Yeah.
but whatever, it's fine. Yes.
I love that, like how he convinces him to be a murderer. He's like, it'll make your wax look better. Just put wax on top of people. Bam. And he's like, pretty good.
No, and they have this whole thing of like finishing what Ma started and going,
Yeah, like as if she was making this one house and then wanted to keep spreading, taking over the world.
Okay, so on like the rewatch,
Mm-hmm.
there's a small sign in when he like breaks the window to like get the crossbow.
Okay.
There's a town that it says Town of Wax, I should say. And I don't like that sign has to have been old because they didn't make new signs since they became deranged.
I would assume not.
I don't know if if there were plans to spread and do more. It's such like a weird little thing.
I always,
Yeah.
I would take that as like you have one draw in your town, especially if like I don't know when that sugar mill closed. If it was like, were we still drawing people to the town using just the wax?
Like the whole town might just be called the town of wax.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know if there were plans or if she'd done, because there's figures in the windows that might just be normal wax. I don't know, right? But there's a whole like, ooh,
well, and
what's
it's hard to
happening
say if even any of the figures in the windows are things he did.
Yes, exactly.
Like after the fact.
Yes.
Or obviously there could be mannequins because it's a store.
He's definitely done a bunch of them now, and especially the corpse ones or whatever.
Well, he's done people in their houses. Like,
yeah.
Like, you know, weird shit.
That's awesome. Just this vibe of setting up this whole clockwork thing. I don't know if you caught, because I hadn't caught the first time, even the dogs in the...
Yeah.
Oh, wait, there's a pet store.
Oh, great.
Come on. Puppies. Oh, my God. Look at them.
In the very beginning,
Mechanical.
they're like, oh, look, oh, puppy is great. No, come on, we gotta go. And then at the end, when he's messing with the power, the dogs go... Because it's the wagging tail's a fake, right? And it's a wax dog. I'm like, holy shit, everything is wax.
Yeah, everything's fake.
It's amazing.
Of like nitpicks or things that like I think are mistakes or wrong are like right out from the beginning. You say that, and now I can't remember his name. What is Paris Hilton's boyfriend's name? Blake.
That sounds right.
Blake invites Nick to go to this game.
Yeah.
Why on earth did your brother have to come with us? I mean, I thought you said your parents weren't going to post his bail anymore.
They didn't. Blake did. He invited him. I guess Nick makes him feel more badass. I don't know.
He thinks it makes him seem tougher or something.
There's a whole
but
flimsy...
if he invited them and Wade is not thrilled with having them come, why are they not in the larger car to begin with?
You like it, right?
This is great.
Your car sucks, dude.
Paige, come with me. We'll grab this stuff.
So, like, they are sitting in the back of Wade's car, at times even complaining, your car sucks, dude.
My legs are killing me back here, man.
Don't worry, man. It's not Wade's fault. It's a little Hot Wheels car. Only fits too.
It's more like a Shot Wheels car, isn't it, Wade? Wait, what'd you do? Go to the barbershop and ask for a He-Man haircut or what?
He-Man haircut, idiot.
It's not his fault his car only sits two people.
Yeah.
Right.
When they were invited by somebody that has enough space easily for them because they're later in that car as they go to the game.
I understand the logistics of this and why it may bother you, but I believe that was all done so that Paris Hilton could give him roadhead.
Damn, yo, wait, let me go.
Oh my God.
You're caught on tape.
Like comfortably.
Indeed.
Or something.
That seemed to be the only thing, but she wasn't actually giving him...
But there would have been a nice little drop-in of some reason why, of like, sorry dude, the truck's just been whatevered or something, and he doesn't
there's nothing.
Yeah.
Because like, I think I'm a person that watches movies many times without ever realizing someone's name. Because I'm like a nameophiliac or something.
Who needs to know names?
And I always assumed that his friend with the D, Dalton was the one that invited him, and I was like, oh, he invited him. That makes sense. Oh, they must be friends. Da 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 da. But then I'm like, wait a minute, you bastards.
Yeah, for a little while I was like, why is Dalton even there? Who's friend? Blah 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 blah. Because he didn't seem like he was tight with Wade or something. So I'm like, what's happening? He's making again. That's so not
making people uncomfortable, getting dressed up like Elton John, finding out Elton John's gay. It's a whole thing for that guy.
It's a wild ride.
Look how good you look.
Hey, it's like Elton John, but more gay.
Elton John is gay?
Yeah.
So that's really like the beginning of the movie if we want to hit a couple of points or whatever, right?
Sure.
They go camp out. It's basically a wrong turn. It's like, we could say we're going to get off the interstate and do a thing. Yeah. And then there's a sign.
It's basically most horror movies ever.
Well, I mean, specifically, like we went down and there's like a detour sign and we go camping out. And I'm like, they're throwing around like a football. It's so weird. And it's like, oh, they're going to a football game. Okay, that's fine. Yeah. And we never really talk about what football game we're going to or like what's happening. One of my favorite things to mention is, so there's this bad smell at the campsite a few times. Our like main girl ends up, they're like, let's go investigate the bad smell. And Paris Hilton, of all people, is like, that is dumb. Why are we going towards the bad smell?
Yeah,
let's go back.
Go towards the bad smell.
I'm like, that's great.
I think it's coming from over there.
Yeah, let's go follow the smell.
What? I want to see what it is.
Why?
Wonderful. They give her that line instead of her being like the dumb one who's like, okay. they go, and she falls down the hill. Her like falling into it's a big pile of like animal corpses, like deer and stuff, and bison or something. So like it's all like wet, and she's trying to push out of it, and she's slipping into it and all this stuff. And like to me, like that's like a jump scare because it's not like the main killer like boom or something happening.
And she sees a hand.
Well, yeah, exactly. There's a whole like depth to it, but like that's so much better than just a jump scare where like someone's boyfriend is like, "Oh hey," and you go, "Oh God, I'm so scared."
What are you doing?
Right, it's like so dumb. This is such like a like foreboding, interesting,
Well,
and we get to introduce roadkill driver and do all that stuff. Yeah, there's all these cool things to do.
Well, and
with
the night
that.
before we set it up with like there's a part where you see the wind shift and they smell this horrible thing, and that's one of my favorite lines where it's like, "Oh, it smells like something died," and he's like, "It's like, nah, this party died, and we gotta drink it back to life."
Something's dead out there.
No, something's dead right here. We need to drink it back to life.
Yeah.
And then my favorite part is, "Bless me, dog," and he throws him a beer.
Bless me, dog.
Yeah,
I love that shit.
Yeah, I mean, even at this campsite, I could gush about every scene, and I won't. But he like throws the football like wide or whatever, and just lands at like Nick's feet, and he's like, "I'm not touching that. Fuck you." And it sets up the whole stupid character. That's great, right?
Yeah!
So that when later he's like, Wade's not that bad, you're like, oh, he's got a heart of gold.
Yeah.
He has a heart of gold.
Well, you like me better than Wade, right?
Wade's not so bad.
Yeah, I like Wade too.
And one of the best scenes in the movie is when he throws the beer bottle and smashes the car window that's like, peeping on them for a second.
Okay.
Or the car, not the car window,
the
front
headlight,
headlight, yeah.
I'm serious, man. Turn your lights off. I'm whooping someone's ass.
Cool, man.
And that's a great reveal later when the headlight is smashed out.
But those couple of there's a couple of scenes with the Nick character that are such a game changer for horror at this point. There were not a lot of movies where people were doing things that made sense to me. That I'm like, there's a lot of why aren't you doing this? Why isn't this happening? Blah blah blah.
Yes.
There's a part where his sister has been kidnapped. He's looking for her, and she manages to break the seal in her mouth. She screams. Just that gets him to turn a little bit, so he gets to see he's about to be stabbed. He jukes the stab and punches the guy twice, and then annexes his fucking property.
Yeah.
And it's fantastic.
I remember when you and I first talked about this movie, that was one of the points that we brought up. That was so cool. Because he locks the door and the killer gives him that killer look. Oh, you think we're whatever? And he runs away. And then our boy Nick goes oh, and runs, also runs. And he runs so convincingly and he's fallen over himself. I noticed in the rewatch, goes and wedges something against lock the bay door.
He jumps up onto the door going up and pulls it down.
Exactly.
And I'm like, yes.
No, it's such an amazing.
It's
and
finally
then he can't
somebody
get in.
coming at you're like, okay, you are a killer, yes. And maybe you've trained and practiced this. I can see you've done it before. There's a lot of Polaroids of people you probably killed, a lot of cars, a lot of cell phones. Yeah. But I'm an elite athlete who's going to get a scholarship. I'm clearly a physical specimen. I'm also a criminal. I'm going to fuck you up.
But what does the character in the movie say about himself? No. No, literally, this is the bad boy, but he has a heart of gold, and every movie does it where you're told he's a bad boy and he has a tattoo or he says some dumb things or he shits on one other character, but then as soon as something happens, he's just a normal good guy, or it's for nothing, or it's just to prove how strong the killer is. That even that guy, he was no man, fuck you, and he dies, and you're like, okay. Yeah. And this was literally the first I think I'd ever seen, maybe the only I've ever seen, where a character is literally. And there's a great little moment where he's walking towards where he gets the crossbow and stuff, and his sister's like, Nick, be careful. He's I am being careful.
Nick, what are you doing? You gotta be careful.
I am being careful.
And he's like all like ba-dum, he's all like fucking like badass mode and doing his stuff.
Like, and there's a couple of great things, like just there's tackles, the fact that he shoots the bad guy twice. You're like, okay, you grab the gun and you like a crossbow and you finished the job in quotes.
Yeah.
Maybe you should have stepped on his neck. I'm not here to dilly-dally.
That's what I would have done, but I want to walk through this sequence because this is like award-winning or whatever. Bo follows them into like a theater, loud music playing. Just like the church, the audience is full of waxy, dead people. And you see Bo counting. Like he's like, I know you're in here, and he's doing this one. Like he's like figuring out who shouldn't be here because it's dark, you can't quite see. He's trying to figure out where they are. He finds her and he goes to shoot her. Nick is waiting until he expends that shot because he has to like rack the next thing or whatever, so he can pop up and shoot him, right? Then she runs out, Bo follows. Nick is again waiting.
Video game tactic 101, aiming at the door when you know someone's coming.
I was like, this is amazing. Yeah. And that whole little sequence felt better than I like remembered. And it's just, because like in my head, I'm like, yeah, he locks the door, he's a badass. But like, I'm like, no, he also does this whole other operation.
He's a great character.
It's wonderful.
And it's his idea to pull the knife out of his own leg and stab the fucking guy.
Do it! Do it now!
Do it! And does the whole fucking thing. No, yeah.
But even her.
The fight later is great.
She knocks the guy out and then repeatedly bludgeons him in the face with a bat because you have to finish the job now.
I want to talk about that too.
Please.
When she hits him in the face with the bat, I feel like that's some of the best, like, the camera work, like, and it's so visceral, because she swings, and it's not like, there's a few where she's just swinging, and, and it's like off camera, like whatever she's hitting, but for like 2 or 3 of the hits, the camera, like, whips down to show the hit.
Yeah.
And it feels kind of like the back of the leg snip. It feels really visceral and feels really good. In a way where I was like, shouldn't I see this in every movie where anyone has a bat? And I'm like, no, I almost never see this.
Another hit that really felt real was when Bo punches her in the face.
Yes.
That, like, the follow through, the angle of it, everything about it, and then even like how her face looked, it's like, okay, that looks like a punch. Often people like either decimate someone's face or there's no mark at all. I thought everything about that felt really real, and that's something that this movie has going for it. Is the realism of the film.
We're hitting everything on my list. When he clocks her, it has, like you said, and like I think too, it's like how they choose to hang on certain things, because it doesn't cut away to her falling or something. You see from like the like behind him, and just hitting her and stuff, and it feels, we're like, are you allowed to hit women? It feels like this weird.
You don't really see that very often, and when you do, it's usually like, but this I was like, oh.
Or it's some weird torture porn horrible thing here. But she just she like hits him once and he's like, what are you? And just gets her and then goes back to fighting with Nick and stuff.
And it didn't seem like she swung that shot to his back very light. Like sometimes you see someone hit, you're like, oh, you really didn't follow through on that.
Like,
it seems like a decent hit. Didn't do shit to him.
Well, he reacted like, oh no, and then was like, oh no.
Yeah, but if I swung a bat at your spine, you're probably gonna die. Like,
well, okay, yes, you again.
Like,
you're the Chad Michael Murray of the group. Yes, exactly.
But
that's what would happen.
You'd expect a little something more from that swing, but like it's there to say like, oh, he's tough. The man's full of wax.
He's already injured. He's full of his wax powers.
Yeah, I would have liked there to be a scene in between the shot and then where he's taking like a shitload of Percocet or something.
Check this shit out, Lunchbox. Animal tranquilizer. This shit fucks you up like Percocet.
I think would have been nice. Would have explained a little bit more about his fight and how he's able to still be moving.
Yeah, I didn't like too, because they establish Vincent, the brother, like stitches up the wounds to like make his wax business and all that stuff. And then you think, or I thought again, that like he was gonna fix up his brother, but he's like, no, get out of my face, no, and it's like stopping him, and I'm like, wait, like I wanted that scene from like Terminator, where like you see blood hitting the water in the sink, and you see like and like pouring whiskey or something, vodka on it, and doing something, maybe just for time or pacing. They didn't do that, but yeah, I would have liked pills at least, something else like that.
It's already running pretty long. What is this, like almost 2 hours?
The movie's a little long. The only thing that I could see someone like, and it's like 45 minutes until like we get to like some like, oh, I'm getting waxed or something, right? So like, I could understand people saying the movie's a little long and maybe criticizing it for that thing, but I liked a lot of the stuff that was leading up to like,
I liked most of the
whatever.
Who was your least favorite character?
Ooh-wee. Dalton barely does anything, I guess.
What?
Well, I don't know, man. I mean, we came all this way. You don't think we should just look for him?
I don't know. What do you mean, like, of the mains?
I think Blake, for me, seemed a bit young.
Blake.
Jacket, peep the unique fashion. Street ammo, let the heat handle. Smooth, one of the illest fleets. Ice water vocab, about to take over the streets. Yeah, now what's fucking with us? One of the illest fleets. Baby, come back here.
I think he does two things super awesome. When he gets stabbed in the neck, the face he's doing, and especially as he gets driven into his neck by the foot, I'm like, wow. And his facial act, he's really good facial actor, I want to say. His facial acting when he's listening to the message of what's happening, when she's getting, like, you know, he's like, oh no, it's the guy with the truck.
What are you doing?
Waiting for Wade.
This is my truck.
You're the guy from the campsite.
Was like awesome, and it almost made me turn around on my idea there. But he feels too young to be in that group because he probably is their exact same age, but he's aged like better than them or something.
He's like
and he's shorter, so like it makes him look a little younger to begin with.
He reminded me of like I think Paul Walker or somebody like that. Something about his face. I'm like, what are you, like pretty? Like, get out of here, stop it. Like, yeah, no, he wasn't like a great fit for them. And Dalton too doesn't have a lot to do. You know, those two
I forget
characters.
what I know him from. Like he was in a Disney show or something. Like he's very familiar, but I couldn't tell you anything that I've seen him in before. Actually, he was in iZombie for like an episode.
Dalton or Blake?
Blake.
Okay, I didn't recognize.
Dalton was in Scary Movie.
This is like a scene from a movie or something.
He played the Billy character.
Okay.
But Blake was in iZombie as like, what was it, like something like Finn Possible or some play on words. He was like an energy junkie or something.
Oh, he was like the influencer. He was the YouTuber
so.
or something. It was like, I get clicks.
I jumped through fire.
Awful.
I'm burned alive.
If I kept acting like a fool, I'd get nowhere in life. Well, baby, my 22 sponsors beg to mother flipping differ.
That's actually awful.
Yeah.
Another thing that I liked, just to round out the whole like things, this is actually like a little before the gas station, but I loved it so much. When Carly realizes that, you know, the headlights busted out, then when Bo comes out and she like locks the door and is like, I'm waiting for Wade.
What are you doing?
Waiting for Wade.
And then you watch. Bo, I thought was like good because he has that turn from like, this is my truck, this is ridiculous, like, bitch, get out of the car.
This is my truck. Hey, what is the matter with you? If you don't open this door, I'm gonna call the cops.
You're the guy from the campsite.
And all that stuff. Her like fidgeting, he like breaks the window, he grabs it, all the thing, and like her doing in the car and like doing it with her hand. And again, I think the angles that they chose to show, I really liked that.
Hey, stop, call the cops.
I don't always see that. Usually the car is rolling or something else is happening or they don't get away. This felt like things were real in that how like messy they were to like play out, right?
Yeah, no, a lot of things didn't go as very smoothly for anyone involved.
This is actually later than that, but when he grabs her at the church, like that's another like a jump scare.
Like under the cloak, like the cloak of the pastor or whatever it was.
They show her face like the whole time, and then hands just appear, you know, as she's screaming. It's not this. They don't cut wide so you even know where he is,
or where she is until that moment. Honestly,
and they don't cut back to like feet going by and her going. That maneuver where they're always like hiding their face. It felt, you know, again like we like criticize jump scares being cheap or whatever, and that made me jump and was good because it was like, wow, you just kept this like scared person until the guy was actually there.
They cut back to her face like 4 times, and you see this whole journey that a single tear makes. There's like a tear, and it goes like to
working
here,
its way down,
and then it cuts away from her and goes to him again, and then that tear is like here, and it comes back, and like eventually it's like hanging off her nose.
Okay, yeah, I think I noticed something, and I was like, she's got some snot hanging off of there or something like that.
That was all that tear.
That was all the journey of the tear. Yeah, again, like there's too many good things for it to be an accident. I feel like this movie's a good movie.
No, it's great. Well, and this director who he did. What did he do? The Orphan, and then he's up for 2 like huge ones now with The Rock. He's doing Black Adam, and he's doing Jungle Cruise. So
I
like
remembered,
he's firmly in Disney's pocket now. So that shows you
Okay.
this huge sign of quality because they poached the best.
I remembered Orphan and like one other thing that I'd kind of heard of, but I haven't seen Orphan, so I didn't want to be like.
Orphan was creepy.
Well, I've heard that, but I didn't want to be like, obviously he's talented, and you're like, Orphan.
Didn't realize that's based on a true story.
Yeah,
I'm
some
like,
weird,
damn, crazy bitches.
Where people go for adoption and they're actually. We shouldn't spoil Orphan right now.
If you don't know, you don't know.
And if you don't know, now you know.
So, one of the actual like worst scenes where I felt the length and I felt the whatever is in that first like 45 minutes, and it's where they're walking to the house with Bo, where he's like, I got a 15-inch at the house or whatever, and Bo proceeds to do all this exposition and something about his accent when he's just talking normally. I was like, this is gross, and it felt long and slow and bad, and I'm just like, yuck.
They still around?
No, it's a horrible story. Trudy's husband, Doc Sinclair, he was a doctor in the big city until he got his license revoked for doing surgeries on the side, stuff that, most doctors wouldn't dare do. So he moved him and Trudy out here to Ambrose, got a fresh start in his medical practice, and, Trudy really found her calling with that whole wax sculpture thing.
You probably forgot about this scene because there's nothing there's nothing happening.
It didn't jump out at me as bad. I like the more you see of Bo as a normal person because it makes the twist that much harder, and you're like, oh, this Dexter motherfucker, he's really playing the role here. But if you don't realize the man's evil, even without any setup, at the part where it's like, can I use your bathroom? Oh, at the house.
Hey, you mind if I use your restroom real fast?
Oh, up at the house, that one's out of order.
You got 15 inches? Oh, at the house.
You don't have any 15 inches.
I do at the house.
Let me get you just to my house.
And then outside, he's like, you sure you don't want to come in the house too? And she's like, I'm good. He's like, all right, I'll have to kill you out here.
You want to use the can?
You got to use a can?
Need to use a can?
No, it's okay. I'm fine.
All right.
That's another award-winning line or whatever.
A fan belt.
Yeah.
You walk in on a funeral for a fucking fan belt?
How did they get to the tipping point of taking over the whole town?
Yeah.
Now, it could be easily explained as like, well, when this the big industry closed down, everyone eventually left. And I'm like, okay, that's one thing.
So the core,
but if they actually took over everyone's body and waxed them, I'm like, there's a certain point where you're like, got everybody, and someone goes, that's John. Like,
no, like the core of both of these complaints is that 10-year time frame, where I feel like that's not enough time for some of these things to have like reasonably happened.
Well, 10 years kicks off from exactly when?
Before that day or something.
No, but
like 10 years ago.
But 10 years ago was what I mean is what was that 10-year mark from?
The cop says it at the end. I think it's been 10 years since the sugar mill closed, or 10 years since, I don't know.
How could no one have known about all of this?
Truth is, this town's hard as hell to get to. It's been abandoned 10 years, ever since that sugar mill shut down.
Something like that. Whatever it was, however they delivered it did not sell to me that this was a reasonable occurrence. That does not ruin the movie, and I still enjoy this movie. But if I want to be
I must not have heard the
about a
10-year thing, because that probably would have pissed me off too.
Well, but you're right. 10 years, depending on when that's from or whatever.
Yeah.
If it's 10 years since we declared the town abandoned and said no one lives there, but then it's like, wait, it's full of wax terrors at that point. Like, I don't know, right? So
it's strange because the town, it's not very big. No. It's like, in their defense, I guess there's like maybe 15 buildings and then a couple of houses, it seems.
So I was like, maybe it's just not on the map ever. But then he says it's not on the map anymore, and I'm like, yeah, like 10 buildings.
Maybe that's the expression,
not
on the map anymore. Maybe it's not an actual map.
Yeah, but it ain't even on the map anymore.
I feel like the length and maybe how long it takes to like get going might have bothered some people, but that is not what earns you. I believe it's 26% critic and 42% audience on Rotten Tomatoes, which is
that's
like
not correct.
Unbelievably low. I'm not saying this needs to be 90% fresh.
Just for the practical effects alone, in the last 10 minutes of this movie, I'd be like, yeah, this deserves a lot.
Yeah.
Like they're walking up a melting staircase. Yeah. Like shit is nuts. Like how much? Like
shit is nuts.
I'd love to know the breakdown of how much of the money from this movie went to just the sets,
like the finale or whatever.
Yeah. Well, in general, like
I
think what did I read? I think they built that town in like 6 weeks or 6 days, like something that we're like, what? That doesn't make sense. like that's a real town with paved ground. Like this is nuts.
Put down that damn funeral.
So if you somehow made it this far and haven't watched this movie, go watch this movie. It's totally worth it. Even with all the crap we've just spoiled, it's a visual feast.
It's
got some concepts that are awesome.
It's an actual good movie, and then you two can fight with anyone else who happens to have seen it and thinks it's bad.
Yeah.
You can live in hell with us.
House of Wax 2005, 2 thumbs up. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Let us know in the comments what you thought about it. Don't die in a fire, and we'll see you next time.
If you want to support the show, head over to cannibalvideo.com, pick up some merch.
And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button.
That's alright.
Yeah, that's something.
Whatever.
Fuck these motherfuckers.
Gonna be a sweet game tomorrow, huh?
Yeah.
Cannibal Video has everything you need. A wide array of VHS and DVDs. We ate the competition, now it's only us. Our expert staff opinions.